Hello everyone, here's Zeynep from amberPlatform. We are today with İpek Yeginsu. She's an artist, a curator, an academic, and right now she's writing her PhD thesis. And thank you for having time to share with us.
Thank you.
Welcome. Today we will talk about How Do I Know What I Know project of İpek. It's an Instagram-based game, a participatory game, and it will be maybe better that İpek introduces us more about it.
With pleasure.
It's yours.
Hi everyone, thanks for listening, and I would first like to introduce myself a little bit, what I'm doing, what I've been actually doing in the last couple of years. I'm a graduate of International Relations and Cultural Heritage Management, and since 2007 I've been working in the contemporary arts sector. With a specialization in new media arts or media arts, so considering that the terminology is also kind of debated these days. And I also have my artistic practice that evolved from photography to multimedia lately, and this is my first process-based artwork experiment. I like to call it experiment actually. And this kind of emerged out of the discussions that we had with the amberPlatform team and other participants when we were discussing some issues around the festival's theme. I had this idea of developing a game or experiment on Instagram. And what is this? It's a simulation of how unverified information turns into fact in social media. As we are talking about ignorance, the theme of ignorance in this festival, how is ignorance spread over society? When I think about this question, I immediately think about social media. And I thought we could create the simulation of how such bits of information find their way into the internet, and people share things online that end up becoming facts and are taken as facts, and they can also change the course of history if it's too big. And this game is open to everyone's participation. So you are more than welcome to join it. And at the end of the presentation, I will also give you the hashtags. So why is another question, actually, that stimulates this process. Because why am I so like obsessed with this information sharing on social media? Because I think we have this naive tendency to believe that the information we receive from social media is kind of confirmed, real, verified, etc. We have this very naive assumption most of the time. We only have recently begun to question that assumption, and we sometimes intentionally, even intentionally, but mostly unintentionally, spread false or unverified information on social media. And why do we do that? We sometimes just do that because we want to do it more quickly than others. Let's say we come across some news, very interesting news, and we want to share it before others do. You want to be the first person to share it, and you don't check if the facts there presented are verified, or if it's a scientifically prepared article, is it really scientific? Or sometimes the media uses these sensational titles, and when you read the main text, it's much less than it promises in the title. So all these issues are not really in our focus until we first share it on our feed and say, okay, I shared it. And I shared it before other people did. And I kind of kept up with the current of the events in the world. And sometimes we also do it, I think, to get reaction and support. Sometimes we see some content that supports our view of the world. And before checking the facts, we say, somebody else has proven it, so let's share it and use it as evidence for my position. But it's most of the time just some like subjective point of view, like any other in the world, and like ours maybe, but we help it spread all over the internet and become reality in a sense. And when we are exposed to a lie too many times, or let's say a false information, misinformation too many times, we tend to take it as true. And I think this is at the root of most of the ignorance we are talking about these days. And the algorithms don't help us either. The algorithms make sure that there are two camps, and all kinds of opinions and thoughts can be classified into certain categories. So the gray zones get lost in the arguments, in the discussions. So all these issues polarize the social media even further. And you usually have like two basic camps, and if you don't belong into one of them, you have to belong into the other, in a sense. And we seldom check the source of the information we share. Like, we see some website, but is that website a serious website? Or sometimes we have like fake websites mimicking serious publications with just some change of letter or some punctuation. They create a mirror site of the original site of a magazine or a newspaper, etc., and they mimic that publication. And if we don't pay much attention, we immediately take it as the original and start spreading the information. And this clickbait actually becomes spread all over the world, thanks to us. So this is why I've been thinking about these issues. And what did I do? I first picked 3 images that could attract attention, very generic images. Cat is basically the most popular thing, probably, on social media. People are obsessed with cats, and whenever you see a cat picture, you immediately check it, or you want to like it, share it, send some hearts and flowers, etc. The second is an ET, an alien. And this is like one of these subjects that is always, stuck between different discussions. Like, some people just take it completely as a lie. It's just bogus. Others believe in it like they believe in a religion, or as if it's like scientifically proven. But most of our attitudes, I think, stand somewhere in the middle. Like, there could be alien life in the universe. It's highly probable that it does. But did we make contact? Are we sure? Do we expect that? I think there is also this kind of expectation on the internet that we are close to making contact. Other people say, no, it's just, local politicians lie so that they can, divert attention to other things, etc. By local, I mean the globe, the world, in this intergalactic context. But we have this issue of verified versus unverified information bias, let's say, around this extraterrestrial issue very often. And the third image I picked, of course, is the coronavirus, the COVID-19 picture, because it's such a hot topic now. And there is so much information on the internet. And everyone has something to say about coronavirus. Vaccines work, vaccines don't work. Vaccines just place chips in people and track people. Vaccines are, used to change the human race, or all kinds of things. Or the virus is a virus. The virus is actually a bacteria that was submitted to radiation. The virus is a machine. The virus exists, doesn't exist. We have all kinds of information attached to this image. So I wanted to kind of see what people would react to this with, and I basically prepared 3 Instagram feeds with these pictures. And I had 2 hashtags, how do I know what I know, and bildiğimi nereden biliyorum, which is the Turkish translation of how do I know what I know. And I start spreading this, trio over the internet. And the basic idea is actually to see how people approach some bits of information and change it, modify it, make it their own. And I'm actually giving them some instructions on how to participate into the game. So the idea is to share a piece of information using this picture and to provide the source of this information. This source of information can or cannot, maybe not be so precise, can be our sense of the source of information. As in this case, I'm saying that cats always land on 4 feet. This is a very typical piece of information. And I remember that it was my grandpa who told me this when I was a child, but I assume, and actually this information is also inaccurate. Cats don't always land on 4 feet, it turns out, but they seldom miss it, but when they miss it, they can be really hurt. So this is the first feed. The second feed was about the aliens, and actually not about the aliens, but the picture pushes your thoughts towards that interpretation on purpose. So I'm kind of sharing this information that scientists have received some radio signals from a distant galaxy that repeat at regular intervals. What does this imply? This implies that alien life might be out there and might be sending us some information, but after these news spread on the internet, a few days later, I saw another article associated with this one that I found on Facebook, which said this was a planetary pulse. Like it was a pulse of energy from the planets that happened at regular intervals because of their, movements, regular movements. So it created this rhythmic sound, rhythmic wave. And this is how we received those signals. But once this information was out, many people took it as an evidence for alien life in the outer space. So I wanted to initiate this conversation with this bit of information. And the third one is about COVID, obviously. And there was this information on a YouTube video by a doctor who said that COVID-19 could survive on some surfaces for up to 3 days. So there's no running from it, basically. But then other scientists said it might not be true, for the virus needs some organism to attach to very quickly. And when it's out of water, it cannot survive. So this is also bogus probably, but we are still not sure. I mean, COVID is still being studied very recently, and we still have a lot to learn about it. But as humans, we want closure, we want certainty. So I think this is one of the main driving forces behind our urge to share information and believe information as we hear it. So all these uncertain issues just, provided me with a fruitful ground for exploration. And I shared these pictures on my Instagram page with this instruction. I did 3 separate feeds, and each had this instruction. And I basically asked people to do one of the 2 things, or both, if they wanted to. They could share the same image with a new piece of information and a new source, of course, that they would provide, or share the same piece of information using another picture, another image of their choice. So they had 2 options, let's say, to participate to the game. What they had to do was to share the hashtag. Of course, once the hashtags come together, on Instagram, you already can have a voluptuous data set, and people can see it. All the people that participate can see it, aside from our data analysis that's going to take place at the end of the game. So this was my invitation, basically. Then let's look at the timeline. I'm sorry for this tilted presentation. I think it was not properly aligned, but I started the project on March 10, and the first feed in English came from the changed image for the aliens. So the radio signal message was used with this new picture of the t-shirt with Yoda. So again, you have this, implying that alien life exists, but it also involves some sort of wisdom, probably. And you can of course interpret it in different ways, but it felt like it was another confirmation that this piece of information indeed brought to mind the aliens. And by the choice of Yoda, I thought we assume that aliens are very superior to us in terms of civilization. We have this assumption. So this was the first feed in English, but there was not much participation in between 2 days when I also published the Turkish ones. Actually, I decided to publish the Turkish versions once I didn't get much feedback for the English ones. And on March 22, I decided to publish also the Turkish versions. And the first feed also came within that same day. And this time it used the picture, the original picture, but changed the information in the picture. With that kitten, with that flying kitten, you had this information in Turkish. A wet nose in a cat is a sign of good health. A dry nose is a sign of high body temperature. I read this on a website about cats a few years back. So I felt like people started to get involved. And, when I posted these things, I posted them also on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I invited people to join the game. And people really reacted very positively. People reacted with excitement, and they said they would participate. And many likes arrived. I mean, lots of likes came to all these feeds. So I assumed this would translate into participation, but it didn't. Now, this tells us a lot of things, but before that, I also want to show you what we did with Begüm. Begüm Çelik is also with us today. And she's doing the IT process design of this project. I'm going to show you what Begüm worked on for the rest of the project, the design of the data analysis process. So she designed a system where the data, the feeds, would be extracted via Instagram API. API is an application programming interface given by Instagram to developers. So you create a developer's account and you are able to modify Instagram according to your client's needs, basically. And the information in the texts people would submit as bits of information under the feeds. It would be analyzed with the textual classification model that is called natural language processing. And the data is stored under postgresql.org. It's an open source relational database, so you can use it to store data and in a relational way. It's very important. And the back end of the project is hosted by Node.js servers. So this is like the backstage of our data analysis. And of course, about the front end, I can tell you more about the front end and the stage we are at the moment. React.js, open source library for interface design, was used to design this front end, where we see a few things. First of all, we see the percentage of the kinds of sources of information, information source families, so to speak. Each is assigned a different color. And here we see each feed, each bit of information, each piece of information, and the associated source family here. So if it's your grandpa, it's your like family member. And you see that that was a family member who gave this information to you. Or if it's social media, you say social media, and the language processor is able to capture that, and we are able to label those here. And of course, every feed, every picture associated with this piece of information is also here. So this is one direction of the project. This is where you have the information stable and the image changing according to the person posting the feed. But we will also design another interface where we will also be looking at the changing pictures, the stable pictures and changing information. So we will look at what people substituted the original message, original feed with. And it will also be very interesting, I suppose. And Begüm is currently also working on doing that. And okay, this is really exciting. And it turns out the cat is so like extremely popular. And it really drew more attention than the other two images in general. But what's really interesting is we had very little turnover so far. The participation has been too low, as I already said. And I have a few hypotheses about the reasons why. People have too much to do online. And people want incentives to do something online. You can offer them something for free. You can offer them some membership, something. Otherwise, just for the fun of it, people really don't have the time or energy to invest into such an endeavor. This is my impression. And people were very polite. I mean, some friends of mine even reacted like, oh, this is a lot of fun. I will definitely submit something. And then they didn't because they forgot. And I know they mean well, but we have so much stuff on our plate these days. And so much of it is on the internet environment. We have a very hard time managing things online. And people just browse things and tend to forget. Something associated with this is our bot-like user behavior. We like feeds, we like posts on autopilot. So we act like bots in a sense. It's not robots acting as if they are human, but we are, as humans, acting like robots after a while because of the very high cluster of information, very high exposure of content. We start acting like robots and algorithms. We just look at something instantly and we just classify it very fast. We just like it, skip it, like it, skip it. So actually our cognitive processes have become much simpler and much more basic, I think. And this is a great indication of that, how this game was liked so much, shared also as a game, not with participation, but with repost, etc. I think it illustrates that people do not read the instructions. They look at the picture, oh, what a nice cat, and then they just like it and just move on. And this actually tells us a lot about our social media habits. And yes, it's obviously impossible for us to manage so much information and perceive so much content all at once. And we are all mentally exhausted. And we have to also think about that. Like we are trying to catch up with all these different events and contents and information, but do we really internalize them? Do we really digest them? Do we really perceive even what's in there? Or do we just, look at it for like half a second and decide what it's about and whether we like it or not, and we just put like or we don't? And this is a very algorithmic process, if you ask me. This is a very machinic process. It's not a human process. So machines are turning us into their extensions. And I think this game also has shown it very well. And of course, our distrust for social media is another issue that came out from this experience. People just, some friends of mine, even close friends of mine, asked, what is this all about? Who's organizing this game? What happens if I post it? Can they access my data? Can they access my private account? Do I owe somebody anything? Am I signing up for something I don't know? So people are kind of asking all these really suspicious questions about some simple game, because we are so alert against these like phishing attempts, these hacking attempts, these fake processes. People are trying to steal from us. People are trying to steal our accounts. People are trying to steal our passwords and stuff like that. So, or we become associated with some weird community without being aware of that. You have these tagging groups on Instagram. Recently, some people that I don't know, and I have no clue who they are tagging me on some posts, and I have to just report them as spam one by one. I don't know if you have experienced that, but if your profile is public, I think it happens more often. And I think things like these also scare people off. They don't want to enter another thread of communication that they are not, fully familiar with. And on the one hand, so this is again a paradox, I think, because on the one hand, we have so much trust of this information that comes across, and we even, leave our comments or likes on things we don't even bother to read. But on the other hand, we have a distrust of something that a person we know, directly know, not only know by, internet. If we don't want to participate, we have our reservations. So it actually was a very interesting experiment so far, and it has a lot to say about how social media has become sort of a dark place, in a sense, a place where people do not trust each other, and people kind of just try to exist, try to strike a pose, but they don't bother what others are doing. So everyone is interested in their own image, but they're not interested in what other people are doing. But still they try to appear interested by leaving likes, which I don't say to blame anybody, but we don't have the time basically to pay attention to all this. It's humanly impossible. So what do? We put our autopilot in place, and we just let it do whatever it does. And I think this is something we might benefit from reflecting upon. So what's next then? The idea is to extend the game until end of June and see what happens, see who participates, and if we have enough data to process, we will also be looking at this data and see. Actually, my expectation was to have enough of a data volume that we could see how different images entered different environments, got associated with a different set of information clouds, let's say, and to see that a bit of information traveled from one visual identity to a completely another one. And these visual identities also affect how we interpret the information. Also, there is this relation between what we see in the picture and how we read the information. So we could also see how those two interacted in a more revealing way. But so far we had only a couple of participations, so they are not enough to use to draw any conclusions. But in the days to come, I'm expecting to have more turnover. I will also try to mobilize other people and sources that could participate, and see where it goes from there. So you are all welcome to join the game. All you have to do is to click these two hashtags that I showed you earlier, and then you will see everything that has been posted under those hashtags. How do I know what I know, and bildiğimi nereden biliyorum? And from there you can reach my original feeds, Instagram feeds, and repost them and change the content, or just take the content and change the picture, and you can create your own feeds, and this could get somewhere really exciting and interesting. And if we have enough data volume, we could also see what kind of image families could emerge from a certain kind of information. Maybe we will have something like a storyboard at the end, and we will have like common threads between image families, or the information sources. What kind of information sources do people really trust? Does someone trust their grandpa or trust Facebook, for instance? Seeing those and comparing those could be really interesting at the end of the day. And this, of course, this model can be used for other kinds of information. Political statements can be made, and people's reactions could be looked for. Or something really absurd could be shared, and people might react in different ways. So all these different provocative actions can be taken. And I think the fact that we are tracing it actually gives us a lot of information about how these, bits of information travel through time and travel through our networks. And I hope in the second phase of the project we have more turnover and we are able to have more insight into this issue of misinformation on social media. Thank you. I would also like to thank Begüm Çelik for her hard work, which is still ongoing. She's been very kind and fruitful along the way. And I would like to thank, of course, amberPlatform for allowing us to do this and supporting us in all the ways they can. And of course, I would also like to thank Ebru Yetişkin, our curator, who was very supportive of this project. And of course, Ekmel Ertan, and all the other members of our extended family. So thank you very much.
Thank you, İpek. Yeah, this is an interesting experiment. If there is no other questions, I have a few.
Of course, please.
Yeah, I mean, the first question is the structure of the game. I mean, didn't you, expected this result? I mean, because as you said, I mean, your result out of this experiment is actually about our habits of using internet and social media. That's quite interesting, but this is actually not what you were expecting. I mean, you were expecting that the game would proceed and you would get some sort of different results out of this experiment. My question is, didn't you expect that people will not really participate in that, because maybe this is related to two things. One is our habit of usage social media. Secondly, our habit of gaming. So what is the award really? I mean, what is the, when you participate? This is the first part of the question. Let's continue.
Yeah. I really expected people would participate, because it's, I would personally be curious about something like this, like where this is going. I mean, contrary to maybe counterintuitively, let's say, I would think, it seems like there's some mystery going on here, and I would join. But again, people are not trusting the internet games anymore, or people are expecting there's something that's not transparent there. And I actually had a more optimistic expectation, because also there's not much, provocative information here. It's kind of neutral, harmless, And maybe that's exactly why people didn't pay attention. Maybe if it were more like sharp political statements, maybe people would get angry and would, you know, become more involved. I don't know. But again, I'm a little bit surprised, because sometimes people just share things like, okay, this is for the women in my life that I cherish so much. So if you send this to 13 other women, you will just have good luck for the next 7 years, kind of thing. People share those things, but now I realize, even if it's not an award, it's like avoiding punishment, and from a superstitious point of view, which is really amazing. Like, we are avoiding punishment for a superstitious act, and it's really, these are really interesting topics, actually.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even those results that you are, I mean, collected out of this experience is more interesting than what you intended already. Yeah,
I mean, we still have these very interesting superstitious things on the internet, and social media, I thought, was less prone to these things, but it isn't, actually. I keep getting these private messages from people I don't really know that are about, like, you know, two pigeons talking to each other, and then one tells something to the other which is a life lesson, and then if you share this 20 times you will have a boyfriend in 2 days, and stuff like that. So I can't really explain why people would bother to share that message with 20 other people and not join a game. But then I think, okay, there's an incentive there, which is really ridiculous if you think about it, but still there is an incentive. So if I said underneath this feed, if you share this with 20 people, your life will change, maybe I would have more turnover. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, this is second part of the question. I mean, I think what you get already is quite important, and it is also, instead of expecting and insisting on your expected results, trying to analyze what you have at hand is more interesting and good solution to the situation, actually. And you got different information, and this is a real experiment, actually, so it's good. But if you insist on, I mean, doing, or how would you organize this game if you do it now to get the result you were expecting?
Great idea. Great question. I would probably use another social media platform where people would read instead of just looking. I mean, I realized that on Instagram, people do not read much, they look. So maybe I would move it on Twitter or something else. I don't know, maybe WhatsApp, even WhatsApp, if I could if I could find a way to track the forwarded messages. Or maybe I would add an incentive, like some sort of crowdsourcing for a cause, or if you share this, maybe you get some, let's say, cryptocurrency in return. Something like that. I mean, maybe I would design it in a way that would at least, even if they're symbolically, compensate for the effort, I would say.
Could it be another solution to use the already existing chain of tweets or Instagram feeds?
Yeah, I think I can try to revive it through the people who already participated. Like, they can also start sharing, and we can have some rhizomatic, like, spread of this fractal spread of this network. But we'll see. I'm sure I will have really interesting experiences from the second round as well, and I'm looking forward to it.
What I'm trying to mention, I mean, there are already tweets or chains or the chains, how it started and where it ended up. Because I mean, the idea probably you got from these kulaktan kulağa style, how this Chinese whisper game in a way.
Yeah.
Couldn't have used one of the the threads already there, just analyzing existing data?
I didn't want to because it was still in its very early stage. I didn't want to draw conclusions from that. And I wanted to see more like alternatives, because otherwise, it doesn't have much meaning at this stage. But if I have at least 2 or 3 different branches of changing image and using the same feed, let's say, or vice versa, maybe I can compare them more effectively, and it would give me more to work on. That's why I'm still, trying to obtain more turnover.
Okay, I'm sorry, I excited a bit. So
Yeah. Me too.
Ask all my questions.
Of course.
I didn't space for the other participants. Maybe there are other questions.
Yeah, please.
Hello, thank you for presentation.
Thank you.
I wanted to say part of the, it kept me also busy to think why people did not participate. But I look at it from my own perspective, because part of the research I'm doing, I use the methodology of participation and creating participatory conditions. And thinking about your project, I was thinking, beside all the issues that are related to social media, maybe that would be an option to think, who are the group that you are sending these 3 categories to? For example, like, who are the group that are more busy with aliens? Like, could it be people who are a fan of sci-fi movies, or could it be like people who are working in that area, or could it, like, who are they? Yeah, and also I think there is, if I am asked to participate to such a thing as a person, as a normal person, I would all the time pay attention to the details that shows that there has been some crafting in it. For example, which means like there is some kind of nerdiness in the way that it has designed from the beginning, so that nerdiness can be a fuel for the game to continue to go on, and I don't know how could that be translated. Could it be the very first image, or could it be the very first piece of info? Could it be like very, as you said, controversial piece of info that you put as a beginning, something like that?
Yeah, maybe a catch-all phrase like, are we polluting the internet? Yeah, something more sensational, like making people question, because how do I know what I know? It's not something that triggers response, emotional response, but maybe we need an emotional response from this thing.
Yeah, I usually think it works usually when the question is formulated in a way that targets something personal, that has the capacity of targeting something very personal in people.
Yeah. That's very good. I think I totally agree with you, and thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, it could like speak to certain groups in society, right? That's what you mean.
Yes, that was first. But for example, for what I just said, is that question that if you hear, you ask yourself. Like, for example, about the cats. What would it be that you start? What would be a question that if you hear, you start to think, oh, have I done it? Like, for example, this thing that they say, like, for example, if you see black cat, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as you see a black cat, you automatically, if you believe in it or not, you are like, oh, am I going to have a bad luck today? Something like this.
Yes, the superstition element. Yeah. Maybe, or maybe some like fake mystery behind it. Like if you participate at the end, you will see your favorite celebrity kind of thing. Just for, as an example, some like at least emotional incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, definitely. So, we see that it's not actually easy to make people act on social media. Like we mindlessly act, but when we deliberately act, we are much more selective with our energy and time.
Yes, I have to tell you that even in other spheres, it is not that easy nowadays to make people interact. Even, for example, now I'm talking about like performance scene. It's not that easy. But again, thank you so much. It was very interesting, especially the analyzing the data.
Thank you so much for your contribution. This is really like a meeting where you talk about your experiment and ask other people how they would design it differently and maybe improve the experiment, redesign it or modify it. So thank you very much. I will definitely think about these issues.
Thanks.
Any other questions? New Media Society is writing something. Thank you very much. It's great to have you here. And it would be great if you also joined the game. Great. So, shall we call it a day then? Your microphone is switched off, Ekber.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess so.
Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much, Ekmel, for your facilitator role. And
you're welcome. And thank you for your work and experiment. And I'm looking forward to see the results after June. Eh?
Hopefully. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good evening.